We've got a problem, one that I did not foresee and is going to be a major inconvenience today's filming. I was walking down those stairs with a spring in my step, my heart was racing, I was ready for today's filming, I had it all planned out in my head, knew where I was going to be going, I knew what I wanted to say, I knew the exact format of what I wanted to do, but I've started the Ford Focus ST up and we have a puncture. 0 PSI on the rear passenger. Let me show you. I mean, apologies for how bad that is our problem. Stop shouting at me. There we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Supercars of London. This is not how I intended on starting today's video or how I intended any of today's video going. But this has been my daily driver for the last 8 months. Parkers.co.uk Ford Focus ST long-term loaner. And it has been faultless up until today, where I've realised that I've got a puncture on the passenger rear tyre. Meaning that we're not going anywhere in today's video, but I will be making a few phone calls and going through all of your Instagram comments about what is going to be the replacement to that. Now, the last 2 daily drivers that I've had, the Cupra Ateca and the Focus ST, haven't been my cars. They've been long-term loaners, but I'm going to be buying my next daily driver and I'm going to be going down the routes that I went down with the Mercedes C63, the BMW M3 and the Audi A1 with the modifications, because it's quite restrictive. I get this car, I can't modify it, I can't wrap it, I can't do anything, which is not that fun. So, my new daily driver needs to be modifiable, it needs to be fun, it needs to be quirky, it needs to be practical, it needs to be a daily driver. So I think, as I was intending on going on a little bit of a drive, I'm going to sit in this car, make a couple of phone calls. I'm going to speak to Sam from Seeing Through Glass, I'm going to speak to Archie from Archie Hamilton Racing and get their perspectives, because they have been fairly experienced in the last 12 months in the daily driver world. And Archie Hamilton owns one of, if not the best, daily driver. I cannot believe that I have a tyre puncture. I can't remember the last time I had one, and it is just at the moment where I want to get out and drive, dynamically demonstrate what the Focus ST is capable of and start creating a list of things that I'm looking for in my new daily driver. What excites me so much about my new daily driver is the fact that you guys are so excited about it. The engagement and the conversations that I've had on Instagram is through the roof. Over 1,000 comments, well over 1,000 direct messages, and I will be going through my Instagram in today's video and reeling off some of the ideas that you've had before I go out and test them, get a few expert opinions on particular cars, maybe they've previously owned them. But right now, I'm supposed to be on a Pelotti road trip. Pelotti manufacture the ultimate driving shoe. They're based out in Canada, and I was partnering up with them for 2020 on a road trip that was supposed to happen now. That road trip has been postponed and it will happen after lockdown eases. And I believe that the daily driver will have a part to play in creating the ultimate road trip experience and creating memories that will last with me for a lifetime. So it is an important car and it will sit alongside a supercar. But to begin with, I need to put air conditioning on because it's bloody boiling. I'm going to call Archie because he owns a Mercedes A45 AMG S. And I'm going to get his opinion on what he thinks I should buy to sit alongside my new supercar.
C63? You've done it though.
Yeah, I do like the idea of going back to the C63, and it is incredibly popular in the comments. I see it a lot. Not just the bi-turbo V8, also the previous generation, the 6.2 litre. Do you think that's a little bit too old?
You just have the older dash, don't you? You probably want something a little bit newer.
True.
Okay, I've had an M2. Me and the M2 got on very well.
You hated your M2, but I like them.
I even made a video called Why I Hated My M2. No, jokes aside, the M2 comp is everything that the M2 wasn't. So I think that's like a great car.
Okay. Any other suggestions?
What were your other? Well, A45S is probably too expensive, and I've got one, so that will probably put anyone off one.
I want to stick to around 40 grand. That's my budget, 40 grand.
Audi RS3.
Yeah, okay. Audi RS3, Mercedes C63, and a BMW M2 competition. You've gone very Germanic. I like it.
What does Germanic mean?
Jesus Christ. 40 grand. I asked Archie what he thinks I should buy. What suggestion?
Don't ask him.
I know. I just like wanted to get the two ends of the spectrum, you know. I wanted to get someone that's absolutely mental and crazy, being Archie, and then someone who's sensible and can play devil's advocate on the other side, which is you.
Well, I mean, I like to think of myself a little crazy every now and again. But if you actually want a daily, you need something actually usable, practical, and something that's not going to get you arrested when you try and modify it and put a stupid exhaust on it.
Oh my God!
40 grand, that's a tough one. You could get a used RS6 for that. That'd be decent, but that's big, that's huge.
I mean, it's huge in more ways than one. That's the one thing that terrifies me about that car. Whilst I love it, and yes, you can get RS6s for under 40 grand now, they're so big.
They're so big, and you don't have any friends, let alone a family, so you don't need a car that big. Like,
exactly. Go smaller.
Just by yourself.
What about Renault Twizy?
Actually, amazing. I lived with that for 3 months. I don't know wants to see those videos. They're live now. I would say, okay, here's what I've been looking at, because we're not in a dissimilar territory right now. The Mini Clubman JCW, fantastic, usable, fun, hilarious. BMW, what about BMW? What could you get for 40 grand? Could you get like an M140i or something, or M135i?
They're really cool. They're sub 30 grand. They're sub 30 grand. I do like being...
You know what you should really get? Actually, I don't know why I didn't recommend this straight away. A Bar released a 70th anniversary version. It's a cool 30 grand, and it's 180 horsepower. That's all you need. You're done. That's it. I'm going to get off the phone now, because what else do you need?
Thank you very much, sir. I will speak to you soon.
If you need an introduction to a bar, call me back.
I will not be calling you back. Bye. Looking back at the 3 daily drivers that I have bought and owned that aren't long-term loaners, the Audi A1 was the first. It sat alongside the Lamborghini Gallardo, and I was so far down the line of purchasing the Gallardo before realising that I could not daily drive that car like I could the Audi R8, and I needed something sensible alongside it, which is where the Audi A1 came from. I went down to Watford Audi, I bought the car, and that is where the Nuke spec was born. All I wanted to do was black the whole car out. I chose the number plate, even though it wasn't a personalised one. When you go to the dealership, you can actually choose some of the lettering. And as soon as I saw the Nuke at the rear of the plate, or the end of the plate, that's where Nuke spec was born. And it's become a bit of a character on the Supercars of London YouTube channel. So when I moved up to the BMW M3 from Redline, it had to be black. And I loved my M3. I think probably my favourite daily driver that I've had. The C63, which followed, was great. It wasn't a better car to drive. They both did the same things in terms of comfort, automatic, great sound system. The C63 looked better and it sounded better, but the M3 was a far better car to drive. It was more enjoyable to drive, and when you flick traction control off and actually wanted to hoon it and treat it like a sports car, that's where the M3 really came into its own. It's a proper driver's car. And I've referenced so many times the thick, chunky M steering wheel that you get in the BMW. The C63 was an animal and a beast that could not be tamed. If you wanted to slide that car, it was the car's control as to where it was going to go. Whereas the M3, you could really thread that car through a needle. So to drive, M3 was better. To listen to and to look at, the C63 was better. But it all started with the Audi A1 Nuke spec. So now that we can't go for a drive and we've listened to Sam and Archie and what they think my next daily driver should be, let's look through some of your suggestions and look through Auto Trader to see whether I can find anything around the 40 grand mark that fits what I need. These are just some of the responses that you have been sending in amongst the thousands. It's still going. The thousands of comments that you have been posting on my posts. So let's start right at the bottom. We've got Hyundai i30N, great car, manual gearbox. Not entirely sure whether that's going to be good for how much time I spend on the M25. The Focus ST was a manual and I did get on with it and I did enjoy it, but seeing as I'm spending my own money now, I think it has to go back to automatic or twin clutch, or at least have the opportunity of paddles but slipping it into auto so that I can cruise around. M3, M140, M3, we've got a lot of BMWs, RS3, BMW M2 competition, F-Type V6, M2 RS3, Alpine, a Bath Punto Evo, tuned to 220 brake horsepower, Marcel.M12808, my 15 grand 2013 Abarth Punto Evo. That sounds mega actually. A lot of people saying Alfa Stelvio as well. There's a lot of love for Alfa Romeos. BMW 1M. That would be pretty baller. Don't know whether it would work as much as I need it to, but surely it's a BMW. It would be very reliable. A lot of M2 competitions. This is good news because that is definitely something I'm considering. Porsche Macan. I loved the Macan GTS that I had out in LA. I thought it was a phenomenal car. Fiesta ST now we're going. Focus RS, Range Rover, RS6, Cupra Leon, GTI, A35 or A45, M2, Quadrifoglio, M2, Fiesta M2, RS6, RS5, M5, RS6, M2 Comp or RS3, M2 with cash. Oh, Jakey Butler, BMW M2, so not the Comp, with cash left to mod. I like your style. M6, Focus RS, Up GTI. Up GTI is a great car. I just don't know whether you've got the modifications there. Because when I look at daily drivers, I then also go and look at what modification options are there on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Google to see what other companies that can give me the inspiration and potential to then be like, okay, that's a great driving car, but also I want to mod it. So this is what I could do with it modification wise. The one thing with the M2 Comp versus the M2, the original M2 I believe sounds better, but the M2 Comp has got the performance. Some really, really, really good suggestions. Hundreds, if not thousands. It's so cool. It is so cool. So whilst originally this video was going to be a slight look back at the cars that I've already owned, I also wanted to get Sam and Archie's opinion and go through. I've done exactly what I wanted to do in this video, but I wanted to do it with a little bit more movement and driving, but the Ford Focus ST has got a puncture. And I only drove it yesterday. And it was fine. There was no tire pressure warning light, nothing. So that has happened overnight, which I'm very, very frustrated about, but it's going back soon. I don't know when it's going back. I haven't heard from anyone at Ford or Parker's to say that they're gonna come and collect that car, but now would be a good time for it to go. I'm gonna leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. I am getting prepared for when that Focus ST does go, and I can start looking properly with showrooms opening on the 1st of June at what is going to be my next daily driver. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and leave a comment below on what you think should be my next car. Thanks for some of the suggestions that you've said, what I've said in this video. Let me know. I will see you very, very soon. Take care. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Goodbye.